Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I will be speaking about perceptual reality and the real impact of information. So, why perceptual reality? As all of you know, reality is what we witness with all our senses. However, nowadays it's more the case that reality is visible over your smartphone, where you can only look at. And that takes away really the full experience of what we call life. See, for the beginning, I have a very basic question for you. How many of you still remember your childhood when there was no other consumer technology than the television or maybe the radio? See, if you think back of this reality, you have vivid emotions and feelings, right? You were happy when you bought ice cream, you were sad when you said goodbye to friends. You had experiences like sleepovers as well as playing hide and seek, and sometimes you were even a superhero trying to save the world. So, what if I'm here to tell you today that your training has paid off because we are the last generation to save humanity? So some of you might think, okay, it's over-exaggerated, but let me elaborate. So during my recent vacation to Asia, I was on a flight from Kuala Lumpur back to Ho Chi Minh City, and I was sitting quite far in the back on the left side, and on the right side, 2 rows back of me, there was a family of 3. It was a young mother, and with 2 of her children, a girl and a boy. And young mother, probably under 35, and the children aging from 3 till 6 maybe. What all 3 had in common, they were on their smartphones. So of course I saw it, but it was normal, right? So I focused back on my smartphone, trying to send out the last text messages as we were about to take off. And you know how the cabin crew always walks through to tell you to fasten your seatbelts and please stow away the table, yes, but also please put away your mobile phone. So as I was about to finish the text messages, all of a sudden I heard a really loud scream, and I turned around. The boy was going nuts. He was screaming on the top of his lungs. And the stewardess was standing there, and the mother really couldn't contain him. And that was really the moment for me when I looked back at my phone. I looked at that little child screaming, looked back at my phone, and I was like, holy shit, we're in some serious trouble. So let me start over. So technology nowadays, we cannot deny that it made an immense impact for us, for society as well as for the consumer. If you think about the progress, so first it was the computer, then it went to internet, then the smartphone came and got rounded off, let's say, with high-speed Wi-Fi. See, these technological groundbreakers, they were imminent, or they are imminent in today's life, and we could not live without them. Because these technologies, they are basically nowadays a critical success factor to be part of society. See, what these technologies initially do, they transfer data, or as we like to call it, information. So what this information does to our brain, it stimulates our thoughts, hence our thinking, feelings, emotions, right? However, our brain is not meant for this excessive in and outflow of information. There was a recent study at the University of Texas in Austin. It was back in 2017, so very recently, and they basically discovered that just the mere presence of your cell phone can already decrease your cognitive capacity. So what the smartphone initially does, it's really a brain drain. Most of you, of course, studying at hotel school must know Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek really supports this research because he shared multiple times through his vision in multiple speeches and also at interviews that there's a very high correlation between the decrease of cognitive but also emotional capacity and the use of your mobile phone. See, what Simon Sinek also mentioned is that we just don't have the coping mechanisms anymore nowadays to deal with stress or basically real life. And if you think about that, it doesn't really shock me that suicide rates are going up, especially for our young generations. And our young generations are now the target group with the highest suicide rate in a third of all the countries. See, author Jamie Smart, he had a really interesting quote. And he quoted, "At our current level of consciousness, entrusting humanity with exponential technology is like giving a toddler a loaded machine gun." What he initially wants to say with that without proper training and without proper understanding, technology can indeed be deadly. Back in 1914, there was this Russian intelligence officer. His name was Alfred Korzybski. And Alfred Korzybski, back then, during the First World War, so 1914, 1918, he already said back then that as technology exponentially grew, our societal understanding and perception is still stuck in the Middle Age. And if you look at the graph behind me, the top of the orange bar, imagine up there you have artificial intelligence, automation, maybe even quantum computing. And you see the gap. I mean, the green line really represents how we adopt and how our human consciousness adapts to these technological advancements. And if you ask me how we can close that gap, I cannot tell you anymore. And maybe you have a better idea, but I'm pretty sure most of you are in line with me that it's really hard to close that gap, if not even impossible. What Jamie Smart and Alfred Korzybski initially said or implied is very true. See, we experience it nowadays. I mean, for me personally, this cell phone, it makes me struggle. It gives me quick highs, but it also gives me constant lows. It made me compare myself. I felt anxiety. I felt insecurities. But the problem that I had was, I thought as soon as I turned this phone off, these thoughts would go away. But as soon as I turned the phone off, all these thoughts and feelings still prevailed in the back of my mind. And I knew something was off, but I cannot tell you what. And before I even have time to explore my thoughts, to really see what's going on, I'm already holding my phone in my hand, watching at the next video, because the low seems so dissatisfying. And I'm 100% sure some of you can relate to that. However, our human instincts are amazing. And we usually tend to bounce back from whatever gives us difficulties, only if we want to. See, during my last study semester, I attended an elective called Trends and Future Hospitality Analysis. During that elective, I mostly researched Generation Z, so born 1995, and basically the end of Generation Z and the generation after. Critics are not really aligned where does Generation Z end, but most of the critics are in line that it goes around 15 years from 1995 to 2010. However, the generation after Generation Z, alone the fact that they don't even have a name yet, already shows the missing research and awareness there is on these young children. And we have to really be careful, and we have to put focus on these young children. See, these are literally up to 11-year-olds that grow up with consumer technology being part of their everyday life. It's basically a part of their body. And in nowadays world, the biggest fight that they will have is the fight with themselves. Over the past years, the research that has been done has shown that these young generations, so the end of Generation Z and this new generation without a name, they grow up with a different set of behaviors. Basically, they have less need for personal contact, for human interaction. They are different in their behavior regarding being emotionally available. And also, what is most shocking to me, their self-esteem is much lower than that's from us. Because their self-worth is determined by social media. And that can definitely not be the case. So in order to illustrate what is going on right now, I would like to show you a really short video. After that, I will elaborate on 2 core messages this video gives away.
Yes, I always do. Because my dad, he's always lazy, and when he's lazy, he always sits on his computer or his phone. And my mum asks him questions, but he doesn't even listen after the 3rd one. Pretty sad. Sometimes when they're looking at their phone, they're like, what? And then I'm like, it's just so annoying. Sometimes when I ask my mom to stop texting, she's just like, yeah, what? And then she just keeps texting.
Yeah, so that's what's happening at the moment. So this video has shown me 2 insights. The first insight is that kids do as we do. We need to lead by example because they will look at us, they think it's right, and they'll repeat it. The second thing, or the second message I got away from this video is kids will always come back to us. It should give us hope because when kids are bored, they will come to you, and when they come to you, you cannot be on your smartphone. No, you have to put it away because if you don't connect to them, they will get disconnected. And this is really a chance for us to get out of this perceptual reality. We, as a whole, we have to take action because if we don't take action right now, we are a big part of this problem. If we don't act, we let them grow up in this hamster wheel, and it's amplified by technology. I mean, these children, they are our future, and we cannot accept that. We have to immediately take action, because the children, we can't blame them because they don't know better. The parents, we can't blame them because they yet don't know better. So there's no one to blame. However, we need to take the responsibility to really grow our future generations how we want it to be. Because one thing is for certain, we have to share our insights from the past with the younger generations and the future generations. There has to be more research in this field. There has to be, awareness has to play a way bigger role. I mean, with these children, if we don't help them, I don't know who can, because we are the last generation that experienced offline and online. They don't have that luxury anymore. And we are heading into this critical phase now that is called adulthood and parenthood. And in the end, we, as the current generation, we are really the last ones who have the ability to make a big impact on sustaining the true essences of life. And here I'm talking about excitement, trust, friendship, love, self-fulfillment. And if you really ask me what's the answer or how we can solve that, it's fairly simple. You just need to get out of your perceptual reality and reconnect with your children and your surroundings. It will not just help them, it will also help you. Think about this little kid in the airplane that was screaming. Yes, he will scream. After he screams, he is bored. After he's bored, he will look for something to have fun. And that's the chance for you where you can reboot them to basically let them experience what you experienced in your childhood. And maybe by taking away technology from them once in a while, you will let them, or you will give them the chance to be superheroes as well as you were once. Thank you.